want to first express my gratitude to Pierre Joris for accepting our invitation to come speak to us about his prolific and exceptional work yesterday and today, and also to Professor Ken Haynes, and also Professor Bernstein, Professor Redfield, Tiffany Lewis, Tracy Miller, and Kate Howard at the Brown Bookstore for helping us organize these events with Pierre. I have been entrusted with the very difficult task of introducing our guest of honor, Pierre Joris, today. During his deeply moving talk yesterday on reading and translating Celan for the last 50 years, Pierre described his task, his Aufgabe, as it were, as an infinite debt. Indebtedness is arguably the most accurate response to a poet who demanded an act of reading that is also a responsibility. I want to take this opportunity to express my own indebtedness to you, Pierre, for introducing me to Paul Celan 6 years ago, as German came to me belatedly, and for making him the mainstay of my work since then. My debt to you also urges me to read you beyond Celan, to stay with Luap Nalec, which is Paul Celan spelled backwards, the eponymous character of one of your books of poems from 1982, or to follow one of the key figures of your book, Interglacial Narrows, the cormorant, which perfectly characterizes the nature of your prolific work, that is to not only observe its flight in one straight line, but to also pay attention to its open-ended side flights or escapes to other realms. Through your book of poems, Interglacial Narrows, from which we'll hear you read today, we get a glimpse of these diverse escapes to meet languages and cultures in many places of the world that you've traveled to. To introduce the book briefly, Interglacial Narrows, published in April this year by Contramundum Press, gathers a range of Pierre's poems written between 2015 and 2021, including an extended version of Book of You, Le Livre de Cormoran, in collaboration with Nicole Peyrafitte, who is also with us today. It gathers poems, the earliest of which dates from 1969, and the most recent from 23rd November 2020, the centenary year of Celan's birth. With that, please join me in welcoming poet Pierre Joris.
I would like to dedicate this reading to Hisham Awartani, the student who was shot, and I hope that he will be able to walk again eventually. That makes me think of the fact that last week I gave a reading in a 24-hour videoed reading for Palestine. And let me begin with the opening poems I read on that occasion. As witness to these dark times, I'll start with a poem by Paul Celan, addressing that vengeful Godhead common to our three monotheistic disaster modes. Tenebrae, we are near, Lord, near and graspable. Grasped already, Lord, clawed into each other, as if each of our bodies was your body, Lord. Pray, Lord, pray to us, we are near. Wind bent, we went there. We went there to bend down over crater and mar. To the trough we went, Lord. It was blood. It was what you spilled, Lord. It shone. It cast your image into our eyes, Lord. Eyes and mouth gape, so open and empty, Lord. We have drunk, Lord, the blood anti-image that was in the blood, Lord. Pray, Lord, we are near. In January 1934, 2 months after his bar mitzvah, the 14-year-old Celan wrote to his Aunt Minna, who had recently emigrated to Palestine, explaining why he has been ranked second in class rather than first, which he should have been. And he cites his, quote, belonging to the Jewish branch of the Semitic race. think that was already a very good insight for a 14-year-old, in the sense that the other branch is, of course, the Arab branch, which makes the accusations of anti-Semitism all the way to today more complex than the right-wing Zionist simplification thereof. The killing has to stop on both sides. Hamas is a religious terrorist organization put and kept in power and financed by Netanyahu's right-wing government in cahoots with Arab Peninsula governments and US government money. Already at the moment of the 2008 Gaza war, a lot of people reacted to it. I won't read that, but on my blog, I translated the Tunisian poet Abdul Wahab Meded, who wrote a lot about this back then. This, like all previous such wars in Palestine and elsewhere in the world, will make among those lucky enough to survive the bombings and killings for hundreds of thousands of refugees. It now looks like there's more dead in Gaza and more displaced people in this war than there was in the 1948 Nakba. That's something to keep in mind. This is a state most Palestinians have known since the 48 Nakba. Here's a poem of mine from this book, and that will get us into Interglacial Narrows, that tries to address this condition via refugees from another part of the world. Sudanese saying, one of the non-bourgeois of Calais, on one of the last days of the great emptying, i.e. the shameless hiding of the eyesore Calais refugee camps called the jungle, where jungle is a translation of Pashto, Zangal, meaning forest. One of these non-bourgeois of Calais reported a Sudanese saying to object to the refugees' dispersal, a saying that says solidarity alleviates pain. And this is how it goes. If we die all together, death is a feast. Now I'll go into Interglacial Narrows, and I will start. Oh, I can give you the mantra with which I opened this, which is by my friend the poet Robert Kelly, and my opening quote from him is really the poet's mantra. Wake up, write down. That's how it goes. The first poem is an elegy for Anselm Hollow. I don't know if you know him, the Finnish-American poet and translator, who was a good friend, as being both people who came from European languages, wrote in American and translated into American from various languages. Elegy for Anselm Hollow. 1. Eyes, eyes, eyes. Invisible the eyes, 1,000 crows on the snow. And yet, 2 crows already make a crowd. 2. And yet, we have to travel, Anselm, because there are wines that don't. 3. Ich trinke aus 2 Gläsern, as we both succumb at the royal caesura, the wandering eyes in the crow's nest. Between poem and translation, translation and poem, bringing it all back home. Let's switch continents again, get to North Africa. Minutes before breakfast is Mohammed Benis. If you don't know, Mohammed Benis is a great Moroccan poet writing in Arabic and a very Malamayan. He actually translated Malamay's great work, the Coup d'Idée, into Arabic. Major achievement. Minutes before breakfast with Mohammed Benis at the Hotel Zelis in Asila, writing outside looking at harbor and beach. Here, sun and air dry the ink as fast as I can trace the words. As far as the eye can see, sea meets land, and lands its waves, spermatically white, spill over flat, prostrate earth, sand. An islandology meets a nomadology. Here where Sidi Okba danced his horse into Atlantic waves, did not yet foresee America, that other shore, mirror Maghreb, west of this west, same waves, lick same reversal with different distortions. Maghreb means west in Arabic, and so the west of the west, we are the west of their west, and so on. Now we're back somewhere in Brooklyn, I think. Marasma redirects to Naphthalocrocus, which eventually lands me on the genus Medinalis, the rice leaf roller, the species of moth of the Crambidae family found in Southeast Asia. If you want to know more, check Wikipedia. I'm sending you there as I have to go out now to make sure the blue of the sky is still holding up those beech trees and the others whose names I don't know and who may therefore be standing up on their own or possibly under different names, as it is only what we can name that we can knock down. Why do you think those people painted all those animals in the caves of prehistory? It was a school, not a pit or shaft, and the little ones didn't giggle as ours would, pointing to the dots, naming the rhino turds, but all together in their language make up, that is, intoned, the names of the living creatures we call lion, bison, bear, shaman, and have not only named but called so often and killed. When they came now, nothing or nearly nothing left, and the children of our children will have to relearn the names of the stones or whatever else may be left. This out. In the dark days of summer, 3 of them. 1. Thinking in Europe begins, suggests Pascal, that is Pascal Quignard. In Mourir de Penser, thinking begins with Argos, Odysseus' dog. See Odyssey, book 17, verse 301. Enoen Odyssea Agus Eanta translates word by word as he thought Odysseus in him who came towards him. 2. Which makes me think on lines by Habib Tangour I translated The Dogs age ago, and which read, Homer will say that nobody recognized him, Ulysses, except the old dog, but dogs don't live long enough to recognize their masters. 3. And riding the subway this morning, this, a baseball cap on the N train. In dog years, I'm dead. In red on pink cap of a very alive Indian lady in her 30s. The poet's job, pick up everything that shines, discard the gold, keep the light. Trigonometry of the Trinity. And the Lord, having rested from his labors, sat up, looked around, and seeing how his critters had fucked up his creation, he raised his hand and put a bullet to his head. Thus the third eye came into being. And as we're in Providence, where a close friend of Nicole's and mine, Don Clements, the painter Don Clements, spent time, here is a late antler for Don Clements. It may rise from the lowest left corner's edge. It may arch gracefully across space, and does it may come down again at the other end, heavy with accumulated matter, bone and pearl, but it never will disappear again. It is there, in mid-air. It is ready and transforms into branch on tree. It now holds the bird woodpecker or blue jay form you have moved into, just beyond the double flame. One reel, the other reel too. A real image of you in congress with matter, mater of us all. The antler you gave me in celebration of birth is no hunter's death trophy, is your creation, a making not ex nihilo, but out of love. It is there, and with it, counting the pearls. A more formal poem. Shipping out at 1:25 p.m. on Herman Melville's 200th birthday. Heaven's Gate is headed for Whitehall at 16.7 knots. Atlantis is headed for New York Harbor at 8.4 knots. Owl's Head is headed to New York at 22.8 knots. Atlantic Compass is heading for US NYC at 15.5 knots. Spirit of America is headed more or less towards Staten Island at 16.9 knots. Then again, is headed nowhere at 4.4 knots. Thomas Jefferson rests at Weehawken in New Jersey, Pier 79 at 0.2 knots. Anthem of the Sea heads towards King's Wharf, Bermuda at 0 knots. Jewel of the Harbor is hiding under the Verrazano Narrows Bridge. Spirit of New Jersey is headed to Town Point Park at 7 knots. Paradigm is heading somewhere at 8.5 knots, visible from my window. Henry Hudson is doing a harbor cruise at 4.2 knots. Alandra Corello and Nancy P. rest near Constable Hook. Celestial is heading north at 5.5 knots. Memories Made lies at 0 knots in Edgewater. Dana Alexa is headed for Bay Ridge Flats at 1.6 knots. BW Rhine is headed for NLRTM at 0.4 knots. Radiant Pride is headed nowhere at 0.0 knots. Destiny was traveling at 6.2 knots to an unknown destination 10 minutes ago. I can see the Verrazano Bridge and the Toloa Harbor of New York from the window of my study. So, these kind of poems are very local. And now some poems from the Book of U that you mentioned. Our letter U, if you pronounce it U, that's the sound of the Japanese word for cormorant. So the Book of U is the Book of Cormorans, or the Livre des Cormorans, Nicole translated them. We did a version of those first in Luxembourg. So a few poems from that series. 2 for the cormorants. 1, the heart of the cormorant is at the head of its name. It wants more, but no rant. 2, we applaud the cormorant, even if the fish slipping down its gullet won't. The one and only cormorant was waiting right there at the elbow the 69th Street Pier and the Narrows walkway made, sitting some 10 feet offshore, neck craning, eye taking it all in, sea and land. I wondered if, or started to, but it dove for breakfast as I picked up walking speed, earphones, broadcasting France Q interview with Jacques Rancière by Laura Adler. The theme, quote, it is not democracy that's exhausting itself, but oligarchy, end of quote. While I looked back twice, not over French Marxist thinking, but over the undisturbed surface of the Narrows. Then moving forward into speed walking, hip swinging mode, I was overtaken 50 feet to my right by said bird, the cormorant notrancière, doing a quiet cormorant best, flying south just above the surface, skimming ahead as I pick up more speed, then see it at the level of the 86th Street flyover, settled again and diving as I come up to it, it breaks surface, silvery fish at a 90-degree angle in beak, as if showing off the twitching freshness of the catch. Down its gullet it goes. As I hear Jacques Rancière explain the need back when, I know not, missed that bit, but long before I had ever met a cormorant, the need to think with Debray, whom I had met and who had swallowed me like the cormorant its fish, the notion of a revolution in the revolution, to create that living space in between, as I would put it now, twixt the gulag of totalitarianism and the gulag of capitalism. That was the only, what's his name, my bird, Black Lightning without thunder, my poor memory at 70, my cormorant, the only such cormorant this morning, made my morning in the sweltering Anthropocene called New York. Anthropocene, S-C-E-N there. Some of these are visual things. Guano apoptosis. Before the ghost cargo appeared, you pointed, wordlessly smiling, two fingers in a V shape. I looked at, then thinking better of it, I looked through them or their shape as if an aim-taking device, and saw one quick black thin streak that turned into two just above the water. You and me, you said. I'm the one up front, you added. Yes, I joked, but I'll beat you to it at the pole. Those were the first two cormorants of July. There would be one more higher up, two more going south, and then coming back, three sitting on the water and diving. One of them, the middle one, bringing up a good-sized fish and swallowing it, and us thinking and saying, wow, that was a big fish indeed. And I adding, look how it drinks water now to help wash it down. And you, as we walked, wondered exactly how, and differently from other animal processes, the cormorants broke down those fish, arrived unchewed and whole in their stomachs to produce that major guano the Phallocrocidae familia is really famous for. And you surmised that maybe the fish lend a hand, a fin, by somehow helping advance their own decomposition, which puzzled me a bit. But then I thought of Michel Serres' word, apoptosis, the small death, elementary suicide of cell, organ, and organism. From the name the Greeks gave the fall of leaves in autumn, a fourth death, a word I gave you when we got home, and which you are now working with in the context of our essay on the colonization of the island of Alcatraz, another confused bird matter, while I try here now just to get the facts of the morning walk down on these no longer so equal length lines, in the hope that on rereading I can clarify them, as one says of butter, into yet another cormorant celebration. And the next section in the book is the homage to Celan, and I will read as I spent a lot of time yesterday talking of Celan, and already used one poem now. I will just read, I think, two of them. Here's an older one that I included here. This is from the 80s. The dream of the desert in the book. 1. The book lies open in all the hallways, in all the oases, in all the dreams, around every corner, behind every sand dune. In this dream, too, you have to add a line. Your place is between the already written and the unwritten, in the white, empty space. In this dream, Stalin smiled, and Heidegger too. In this dream, cockroaches scuttled from the book, but it had to be written in despite the smiles. A dream of a book, a dream of a desert in a book, a dream of a desert that runs from the book, a dream of a book and a desert, a dream of a desert in a book, a dream of sand through fingers, a dream of white, a dream of mica, a dream of phoenix, a dream of a desert spilling from the book into and through the hallway and out the door. And the voice said, write in the book and you will be healed. A voice said, my middle, my voice, my will, write in the book. Write the desert, the dream, write the sand, the white, write the running, dream the book. 2. A dream of Stalin, a dream of Celan, a dream of parents, a dream of houses. In the first house, Celan hides in a closet and Stalin bangs his big boots and stomps over the wooden floor. In the second house, Celan escapes through the back window and Stalin screams and tears at his mustaches. In the third house, we are not. It is full to overflowing with all the parents, everybody's parents, Celan's and Stalin's and mine too. In the fourth house, there is a city in ruins. A moon stands above it. It is white. It is full. It has jebels and wadis on it. It is pouring with sand. During a Zoom reading by Jerome Rothenberg, 2,000 run-of-the-mill Buddhas tread water. There are no mirrors anywhere in the world, only others. In several parts, the whole is or is not. The whole is and is not in separate parts. In acts of cruelty, the present is miscarried again and again. Time, you say, is a bullfight. I say time is kneeling in the sand hour before the bull. Let me close with this poem, another kind of birthday poem. On September 14th, Dante's death day, or rather death day, anniversary poem. Gone for 700 years, leaving us here in the Middle Kingdom, purgatory, which was paradise once, but which we soiled and are about to turn into hell, or at least an inferno for Homo sapiens, the disappearing species, if it comes to that. There's life left. There will be life left. And right, it will move on, even without us. It will rejoice in us, gone. I can hear the birds celebrating, the trees too, the air cooling, the sea cooling. It will be the real paradise, the one sans sapiens, that arrogant